Let me know when you're ready, because I'm going to go live on ours. Good?
We're live. Brian Schiller.
All right, Paddle and Fin family, welcome back. YouTube, Facebook, good to see you guys. I'm here in the Waypoint TV booth. If you guys are listening later on the podcast platform, we've been coming live here straight from iCAST 2022. We got our good friend Zach Rollins here over at Waypoint TV. We developed a relationship with you, year and a half ago now, right?
About a year and a half ago, you've been here at the Waypoint Podcast Network.
Yeah.
Crushing it, as always, Mr. Schiller.
It's been good, man. I wanted to kind of start there because I don't think we ever told that story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if our listeners know the story of how Paddle and Fin joined forces with Waypoint TV. So, and you were kind of the man behind that. So I guess why don't you run us through how you found us, why you chose us, and why you decided to bring us. Actually, let's take that back. Let's start with why Waypoint TV got into podcasts.
Sure.
And then we'll jump into that.
Yeah.
Because I think that came before that, right?
Right,
Obviously.
absolutely.
So.
Well, because podcasts are amazing.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
I
right?
agree, yeah.
No. But to really dive into it, Waypoint has been this force in the industry, hunting and fishing more specifically, but it really was our natural next step, So Waypoint started as an app. We transitioned into being a streaming platform that you could find us on places like Amazon, Apple, Sling, Pluto, where we have a dedicated channel position that you can tune into live anywhere you want. So
Sure.
if you got an internet connection, you can tune in. So it was a natural progression for us to then say, okay, well, what's next? What other mediums are there? And there's blogs and there's other, forms that we're
Sure.
a part of. But podcasting, Tom Rowland, who's one of the founders of Waypoint, has a podcast. It's super popular. I also have a podcast. And, with that, I think Waypoint was like, all right, well, we can reach more of an audience because not only are they watching TV, but what are they doing for the other, 23 hours of the day that they're not in front of the television?
Sure.
They're in their car, they're in their truck, they're out on the hunting stand, they're out on a boat, and they're going to be listening to something. And if that can be a podcast about the outdoors, then why not?
Well, and that's just it, right? That's how we got into podcast is we were huge fans of podcasts, and it wasn't just hunting and fishing, but, we were like, hey, we could start doing this because podcasts, you look back 10 years ago, and it's funny because I listen to Joe Rogan,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Who
course.
Doesn't?
Yep.
And, he talks about we'd have 100 people log in,
Yeah.
and now look at the millions of people that tune in to
It's
what
insane.
he does. It is.
Yeah.
And it's been this huge push in this alternative format because, radio's pretty much dead. Mm-hmm. On your guys' side, TV's pretty much dead, but now
cable
TV.
Yeah,
Let me straighten that out. Yeah, cable
right.
TV is pretty much dead. People don't want to pay the ridiculous amounts, so they're
Right.
paying a few bucks for all these different streaming platforms, which really works.
Yeah.
And I know me personally, I've dropped cable TV 5-6 years ago, and I haven't looked back.
Same
it's
here.
all streaming.
Same here. Yeah.
So it's super cool, man, and to see what you guys have done with your collective, and that was the thing. I know when we first talked, you were like, "Oh, you guys are a collective,
Right?
We have multiple segments, multiple different mini podcasts within our podcast, which is cool."
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was, so interested in reaching out to you. And as we were growing this network, you kind of came on when we were right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
right?
you were kind of in the infancy stages.
Yeah.
You guys might have had
I think
40?
Yeah, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
When I stumbled upon the Paddle and Fin Network, I was like, all right, wow, this is a guy that's going out, getting his buddies together and saying hey, you got something you like to do, paddling and fin and kayaking and fishing.
Yeah.
So the kayak fishing community we know is such a devout community that it was really a no-brainer to reach out.
Sure.
And plus you develop such a great audience
Right.
that Waypoint's already in a niche market.
Right.
And you're in more of a niche, but that niche is super devoted.
Sure. Well, and that's just it. Anything hunting and fishing, right? fishermen stick together, hunters stick together, and
Yeah.
they'll try to, kind of promote each other. Yeah, you're going to have a few things here and there, but you're definitely right. Like, we're in a smaller niche than what you guys are.
Yeah.
But I think we realized that, and that's why we expanded. So we have a hunting segment, we have a saltwater segment, a freshwater segment, things like that, and that's why we have continued to grow and expand. And then the partnership between us and Waypoint came along, and we're like, this is a no-brainer. It's going to help us reach more people and educate them more about what kayak fishing is, because we've had that conversation, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You talk to somebody about kayak fishing and they look at how big I am and they're like, you fish out of a kayak, bro? Like, because a lot of people think like little sit inside kayaks.
Sure.
They don't know the expanse of kayak fishing and how far that's come.
Right.
And now it's kayak hunting too, with the
Yeah,
duck hunting.
I remember
and
you telling
deer
me that.
hunting,
Yeah. I could see duck hunting, but when you told me about deer hunting, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when you got to get to those far off, like, back places,
It makes sense.
It definitely makes sense, and it's an easy, stealthy way to get in there. You know, so
stealthy.
Yeah.
You gotta love stealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to hunting or fishing.
Well, you need that, right?
Yeah.
So you bring up a good point, Brian. Is I think part of the reason why we mesh so well is that you're a community within a community.
Sure.
And what Waypoint's really looking to do is bring together a community of outdoorsmen, whether it be hunters, fishermen, kayak fishermen, saltwater, onshore, offshore, or whether you're a deer hunter or elk hunter, it doesn't really matter, right? We're all here for the same reason, and that's to make the outdoors a more inclusive, better place that we can then focus on conservation, but also understand that we want to also enjoy the resource.
Well, not only that, like, we've noticed this huge spike, and I'm sure you guys have too, whereas with, what we all went through with the pandemic, people started getting outdoors more.
Yeah.
And, like, I've been to several trade shows just like this one, well, a little different than this one, but first-time hunters, first-time fishermen that are just getting into the sport, and they're looking to these different outlets for education because they didn't have a mentor or anything like that. And I was the same way. I didn't get into hunting till I was 28 years old. And
wow, you're that old?
Let's not go down that path, bro. But it's one of those things, right? Like, to have somebody take you under your wing, and I had some of that, you know, but I did rely on the YouTube videos and the podcasts and all that stuff, which you got to take the good with the bad, right? Because there's not always the greatest information out there. So we've always kind of focused on that, like, hit it from all aspects and try to educate those listening and watching.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing about podcasting, and Waypoint in general is, the podcast is such a great medium because you're with someone, you're in their head, quite literally, right? And I learned how to podcast on YouTube, right? And by listening to other podcasts. And, and then you kind of niche it down to, all right, well, you listen to a microphone podcast, and you're going to find a microphone on YouTube, and you're going to figure that stuff out. And same applies to hunting, right? Like, you're going to have a podcast dedicated to bow hunting, kayak fishing, all these other different niches that you can then learn about. And that's just it's really cool. It is,
man. And like, being a guy that travels a lot, drives a lot just to and from the normal 9 to 5 job.
You don't drive a lot. I feel like all the time we call, you're in the truck
driving,
somewhere.
Right?
Yeah, you're driving. Where are you headed? I don't know. I'm driving.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. Like, I don't like the radio. I do listen to music. I'm a huge fan of music, but you got to.
What's your favorite artist?
Break that up. My favorite artist, music artist. I'm a blues man. I'm from Chicago.
All right.
So we go way back to the roots, right? Like, it's Muddy Waters, B.B. King, Buddy Guy. Like, that's my jam.
That's what's up.
Lately, I've been into the reggae, but I've been
right on. Yeah, man.
I like everything but country, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for that because, like, the outdoors world, that's the mecca. That's country. But hey, to each their own.
That's all right.
But no, man, it's been a great partnership with you guys, and I love what you guys are doing. it's the same aspect as us, right? We continue to grow with these multiple segments. You guys continue to grow by adding podcasts to the network. So, like, how many podcasts are you guys at right now on the actual Waypoint TV network? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I know.
Didn't tell you to look it up before we started.
Let me get my phone out. I want to say we're just either just under 110 or maybe just over. So we've grown substantially. I think last April we were at, I don't know, 10 or 12 maybe.
And we came on right after that.
And you guys came on around 30-ish.
Yeah.
So it was, it was boots on the ground, knocking on doors, saying, hey, we got this really cool thing going on. You should be a part of it. And
sure.
We've been blessed to have a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm in. I'm on the community. I understand the community, and it's been great. We've been growing like crazy, and we're going to expand into new segments as well.
That's cool. Well, and that's the thing too, right? Like, you guys have an app. So, why don't you talk about that? What's available on that? Because, like all the podcasts on the platform go to Apple Podcast and, Spotify and all that stuff. But it's not on those different platforms. All the Waypoint podcasts aren't together. Like, I'm sure there's some suggested listen tos, but if you go to the Waypoint app or website, like all those podcasts are listed with the links.
Yeah.
And that's super cool too, because I'm sure obviously a lot of you guys like Paddle and Fin, and everybody I always talk to when it comes to podcasts, they're always looking for more.
Absolutely.
Right? So like that's a good avenue to go see what other ones are on the network.
Great avenue. Most podcasts, they're spread via word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I found you, and then you led me on to, I want to say 5 other shows. You're like, hey man, look at this one, or hey, I know so and so, you should talk to this guy. So that's kind of how the network has grown, and that's how podcasts grow. So if you want to go over and check out more shows like Paddle and Fin, or if you're a hunter, you want to go find more hunting shows, if you go to our app, it's free. You can download it on the App Store. It doesn't matter what device you have, iPad, iPhone, Galaxy, whatever. You can download it for free, and you can scroll through all the podcasts, and you can check them all out. It's a great spot.
Heck yeah. Well, you guys, we talked about it at the beginning of this. You guys also cover the TV aspect, and I know you guys kind of made some new
big
partnerships.
Moves. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much of what's public that they talked about the other morning at breakfast. But touch on what you can on there, man.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're at about 160 million connected devices across the Waypoint and all of our distributors' universe. So, we're on places like Zumo, Sling, Pluto. Pluto and Sling we just recently launched on. We recently launched with LG TV. What I love most about Waypoint and some of the features that we have is, Samsung Plus TV, a Vizio TV, and LG TV. You can go to Walmart or wherever you purchase one of those, Best Buy, and out of the box, you plug it into the wall, you turn on your internet, and you immediately have Waypoint for
TV.
free.
Yeah.
You have Waypoint.
Yeah.
Like walking around iCAST, and people are like, so what's Waypoint? And I pull out my iPad, and I go, here. I'm not even going to explain it. It explains itself. And it really started with the app, but has now grown into what it is on Sling and Zumo and Tubi and Apple and Amazon, and the list goes on and on and on.
Sure.
So we're pretty much anywhere and everywhere at this point.
Which is cool, man. It's cool to see the expansion. Like, the first time I ever heard about you guys, well-known kayak fisherman Drew Gregory was on Waypoint TV with his TV show. Along with our good friend Mike McKinstry, Basquatch Hunter. He was on Waypoint TV.
Yep.
And in going and watching those, I watched some of the other programs, you know. You guys have some really cool saltwater content on there, like Tom's show.
Saltwater Experience, classic.
Yeah, classic. Like, cool stuff that they're doing down here in Florida, right?
Wicked.
And, me being a Midwestern guy, like, I don't get to see that stuff very much. Like,
There's no ocean in Chicago?
No. Well, there is Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
But
big freshwater ocean.
It's cool to be able to go on and watch those shows. It reminds me of a kid, Saturday, Sunday morning watching the old fishing shows on like TNN, the sports
Absolutely.
not sports channel. I guess it was ESPN at the time.
Yep.
And some of the other TV stations.
Yeah.
I know I'm much older than you,
No,
but we don't
yeah.
have to go there again. But that's the thing, right? Like, that's what it reminded me of when I found Waypoint TV back before we even joined your guys' network on the podcast side.
Yeah, and to your point, like, I think Waypoint is really that new age. It's that next step, right?
Sure.
So much of our audience is a younger generation where, guys like you who grew up with like folks like Bill Dance, in the background. And I can remember watching Bill Dance and, watching Nesson in the morning and seeing bass fishing shows and saltwater shows. And, it's really cool to see this shift, because what it really does is, the upcoming generation, even people that are younger than myself, are having the opportunity to get the outdoors right in the palm of their hands, right? And the more people that we can actually give them that opportunity, the more likely they're going to be able to get out in the outdoors. So although for a brief moment you're taken away from the outdoors, long term we're actually putting more people into it, because people that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity can now see that and have that opportunity. Sure. Yeah.
No, it's cool, man. I just love seeing the fact that we're growing together.
Absolutely.
Right. And you guys obviously continue to do bigger and better things, which is awesome.
Appreciate that.
We're proud to be a part of that. So any new podcasts that you know of that just got added, or TV shows that you want to kind of shout out to our audience?
Yeah, I mean, some new podcasts that just got added was Anderson Overland. Shout out to Joey. He just joined up. We got a few other ones that are kind of in the wings waiting to come on board, but Anderson Overland is really exciting because we're starting to branch into that space, right? The automotive overland, and a lot of those guys are throwing kayaks on the top of the rigs and going fishing while they're doing it.
I'm a huge fan of overlanding.
Yeah.
I got a Toyota Tundra, roof rack,
so you're right on brand. You're on brand.
Yeah. So
going to Overland Expo after this?
I think we should. But that's definitely a new show I'll have to check out for sure.
Yeah. Joey does a great job. He's a fireman, so he kind of brings that side of it too, which is interesting. And excited to have him on because he's really starting to kind of branch into that area. Another overlanding show is America's Off-Road, which is another similar to that. Those guys came on about a few months ago. And in terms of TV shows, I mean, this year Primal Divide came on board. Cool. Another show called Life by the Bow, which I absolutely love.
Nice.
Both of those shows are great. Life by the Bow, they're based here in the Keys in Florida. Two young people, Steph and Clay, awesome.
Cool.
I was supposed to meet them at iCAST. They couldn't make it, but yeah, everything's moving and shaking, man. We're doing cool things over here.
No, definitely, man, definitely. And anything else you want to say about Waypoint TV to our audience that we may not have touched on?
Well, I think the best thing, if someone wants to get involved with Waypoint and to really know, is download the app, check it out on your smart TV if you have the opportunity to. But if you don't, we're on Sling, Pluto, Zumo. Just check it out. Give us a watch. That's going to better explain who we are than I could ever have or on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, it speaks for itself, right? And which is super clutch. I mean, when you have it dialed in that well, where all you have to do is go,
here you go.
Here you go. Check it out,
Right. Sells itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty cool. Before we let you go, I know like they're closing down lights here and stuff like that, but you also have a podcast, and I think that was one of the things that like we kind of hit off. It wasn't like you were like some salesman trying to pitch me the idea of Waypoint TV. You're like, hey man, I'm a podcaster myself. I'm on the network. This is what I've gotten out of it. My audience has grown a little bit. I've had a little better reach, things like that. So tell our folks about your podcast. I know we talked about it before in a previous podcast, but we got a lot of new listeners and
awesome.
viewers and stuff too. So
and that's one thing I want to mention is like, thank you, Brian. That you've been such a asset here at Waypoint, helping us out and helping us grow, and to watch your podcast grow. Like we were at breakfast this morning with Armando and Jesse, was it? Your Jim?
Jimmy.
And just to know that those guys, are coming on board and whatnot. Very cool stuff. But yeah, thanks. I also have a podcast, Along The Keel, all about the brands that are here at iCAST, and getting the stories behind companies like Yeti and Sims and Bajio and a few other brands that have also been on the show. Qualified Captain is coming out on August 1st, I want to say.
Oh,
so
really? I got to tune into that
That's
one.
going to be a good one.
Who doesn't like Qualified Captain?
Like Qualified Captain? But yeah, to your point, I've kind of grown a really strong passion for podcasting, and it being in the outdoors is even better, right? I mean, my background's a boat captain. I started the podcast, and when I reach out, it's truly genuine. Like, I'm like, hey, this is what's worked for me. I want to be able to grant you that opportunity. And is there some other things that we got to do to make that happen? Absolutely, but it's just such a positive force for good that to me it's a no-brainer. Because for me, when I signed on, it was like, oh, absolutely.
Sure.
No worries. 100%.
Yeah,
I'm in. What do I got to do?
Yeah. And that's kind of how it was with us too, we kind of just jumped right on. I mean, we discussed some of the fine details, and we wanted to make sure we could still upload to some of our other platforms that some of our listeners and viewers join in on, like YouTube and Facebook and stuff, like the people watching right now. And you were like, absolutely. But I want to commend you on your podcast too, because I listen to it all the time. I don't listen to every episode, I'll be honest, but you do a really good job of storytelling.
I appreciate that.
And like, where does that come from? Because and you have this very like smooth, crisp, monotone voice. Like I feel like I'm being seduced when I listen to your podcast sometimes, But that's key, right, in the podcast world, because a lot of times people aren't watching us live or watching the video stream. So having that quote unquote radio voice is clutch, and I think you got that dialed in. But more importantly, your content as far as storytelling goes, like, you do a really good job of digging into that. So, I mean, like, any inclination on like how that started with you, or
Oh man, going deep here, Brian.
I am.
I think for me, it really came down to I've always been a curious person.
Sure.
I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. Along the Keel has many different things we do, and I think the storytelling honestly comes from just growing up. Like, I didn't grow up with an Xbox. I didn't grow up with video games or anything. It was go outside, go play, go figure it out. I was very fortunate to have my parents provide me a dinghy with a 9.9 engine. It was like, if you swim across the creek, you can take the boat. And through that, it was go figure it out. So, and I think that mentality. And not being afraid to ask a question that maybe you already know the answer to, but you want to learn more about what that person's going to say about it.
Sure.
So I think for me, it's always been pleasantly persistent with a mix of asking questions, and maybe that's how, in my head, storytelling has kind of been a part of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool, man. I love it. We're very similar, dude. We talk about that all the time.
Yep.
You and I talk.
There's never a week that I don't talk to Brian.
Yeah. We talk like every other week, every once a month, at least once a month.
I'd say so.
And that's something to be said too about Waypoint and yourself, right? Like, we have a really strong relationship. Like, I consider you one of my friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're in business, together. But at the same time, like, we've become really good pals.
100%.
And you call just to say hey, and
saying hey.
It's cool to have that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a time for business, but there's also a time for friendship and
absolutely
enjoyment. And again, like, we help each other out, build each other up as far as podcasting goes and things like that. And I'm always recommending, hey, have you seen this podcast? Maybe you guys should check them out. You know, and vice versa. You'll call me and say, hey, have you heard of these guys? And look for feedback and stuff. And it's cool. I'm really proud of the fact that we're part of the Waypoint family. It's Waypoint TV, but I consider it Waypoint family.
100%.
Like, we're growing together. We got some young kids coming into the mix. We're watching them grow up, things like that. So it's super cool, man. And super fortunate to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, we're proud to have you. It's the old adage, rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that's what it's all about here.
Sure.
It's like if we can help you and you can help us, and we can help that guy over there that might not be as fortunate right now, but maybe 6 months down the road he's crushing it. Then
right.
There's really no competition.
Sure.
It's like, why if you're gonna build the biggest building, build it by building the building
Yep.
and not by tearing others down.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
focus on what you got to focus on, and I think you get that. Waypoint gets that, and we're just excited to keep bringing people into the fold that are thinking like that way.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out, typical boat captain using rising tides, sinking ships or whatever you said.
Not sinking ships.
I don't know what your reference was, but it was
Unless
something
you want to salvage a ship,
yeah.
I can help you with that.
Well, you do help with that,
sometimes.
Right? Yeah. When you're not doing this mess, you're out there on the water.
Not as much anymore. Yeah.
Still a little bit though, right?
I'll always be on the water. Yeah.
How can you get away from it?
It's in my. I can't take. It's in my blood. I can't get rid of it.
I will say, for those of you that are getting out on the water in the Florida sun, don't turn your hat backwards because you'll get a funny
why don't we
sunburn.
show the crowd that?
No, we're not going to show that.
Come on.
But it's one of those things. But I'm very fortunate that you guys gave us the time here at iCAST. I know you guys have been super busy making new contacts and building new relationships here. So it was great to at least get the 26 minutes to sit down and chat with you, catch up,
absolutely.
Get a little background on Waypoint, because I think that's a thing too, right? Like, I know sometimes we drop it in our shows, like, go check out Waypoint TV. Got a cool app, a whole slew of podcasts to check out. We're not those type of guys that are like, listen to our podcast and only our podcast, right? Like, the more the better is the way we look at it. So, super cool. Just wanted to give you guys a little insight on Waypoint. Zach, thank you, my friend,
Brian,
for
always a pleasure.
Jumping on, sitting down to talk. Guys, gals, we'll have another podcast here on Paddle and Fin tomorrow morning. I'm going to be sitting down talking with Tightline Anchor Company, and we're going to do that, I think, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So be sure to tune back in then, and then we're back to the normal grind next week. I know it's been kind of crazy. We've had so many shows this week.
iCAST is a whirlwind.
Yeah, between iCAST, the stuff we set up on the side, our normal guys that are doing stuff back home that couldn't be here at the show. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Definitely go give these guys a follow on Instagram, Facebook. Just search Waypoint TV. You'll find all their stuff. Download the app. Go check out all the cool and awesome podcasts and TV shows on their network. They're always streaming something. They do have episodes you could just pick out and live stream, but super cool stuff.
Yeah.
So, guys, gals, we'll see you tomorrow morning. As always, tight lines.